Well, all right, just like that, we are back. Hey, everybody, welcome to This Pink Cloud. It's a show on addiction recovery, mental health, all that good stuff, resource broker kind of thing. I am DJ Kelly Reverb. I am an RSP. Yeah, shout out with the horn.
Single horn.
A single horn, just one horn. Just one horn. But we've got new mics, so hopefully we sound extra sexy today. And a new board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, sitting in with me, thank you for traveling so far out from the land of McKinney to downtown Dallas.
So far, dude.
The one and only Chad Lamons.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Oh, and the gong.
Yeah.
I like it. How you been, dude?
I've been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah?
Things are going swimmingly.
Well, just in case, anybody's new tuning into the show, you're actually FOB or FOC, fresh out of county.
Yeah, so I got out of county in July,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in there for 20 months, and I was super pissed off because 13 of those months I spent in there on probation because my case got messed up.
Right.
But I am super grateful now because that is the absolute best thing that could have ever happened to me in my entire life.
And you're actually successfully navigating sobriety
Very
now.
much so.
And
I'm trying to do what I can to help other people.
Having a lot of firsts, which are always a little bit crazy.
Absolutely.
But thanks for coming in, dude. I appreciate you of
course,
journeying this way, dude, to be of service.
Of course.
Speaking of being of service, we've got a lot of old school friends we found out through the book, through Facebook, since we're both old and that's what we do. But sitting across from me, I'm super excited to have Mr. Michael Watkins from Recovery Resource Council. How you doing today, Michael?
Doing that.
Yeah, the gong.
All
right. Yeah, there you go.
I'm doing great. And it's nice to be here with both of you, and I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we had talked, or you reached out to me on Facebook, on Messenger, and then we just started talking, and I love what you do with the Recovery Resource Council, which we'll get into later.
Sure.
But I think it's a fabulous outreach program, nonprofit, whatever you want to call it. But I think it's really, a great resource if people don't know about it. But anyway, so normally what we do is we just have you jump in, kind of tell your story of, where it went wrong, and then how you fixed it. Stuff like that. So
not to simplify things, but
yeah, right.
That seems to be the recipe for success.
Yeah,
exactly. No, absolutely. Where did it go wrong? Well, from birth. No.
Yeah, right. Well,
no, so I sobered up in 2012, but when I look back, I'm 47 now. My first drink was like 8 years old, and I grew up in. Part of the time in Peru, part of the time in Odessa, Texas, of all places.
Peru?
Yeah.
Okay, well, like Lima or what?
Lima, Peru.
Okay, shout out Machu Picchu.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I was going to do the air horn, but the gong felt so much better for that.
Shout out Lake Titicaca, right?
Sure.
All right, why not?
Yeah, no, that was early on as a kid there, but moved back to Texas when I was in 7th grade and wanted to play football. Permian High School, Odessa, Texas.
Sure.
I think I've heard of them before.
That's Friday Night Lights territory out there.
Well,
that's exactly that's it.
That is literally Friday Night Lights. That's not territory.
That's ground zero for Friday Night Lights.
Yes,
basically.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly who the book is about.
Yeah.
Well, the 1988 football team, but it was a little before my time. Anyway, but that was the only reason why I wanted to come back. And then come down, like most of my life, I started playing football through junior high and then got bored. didn't want to put in the extra work.
Right? Well, that's what, like, when it becomes a lifestyle choice that you're going to make, you're going to be a jock now. From like 9th or 10th grade on, if you decide to go football, you're going to be that
especially
is,
out there, dude.
Yeah, for
well,
sure.
and looking at me now, I wasn't too far off as far as not fitting that mold.
Right. I
you know,
gotcha.
early on. And prior to that, even as a kid, like I was mentioning, first drink at 8, first drunk at 10 at a wedding. I just never, just like a lot of us we hear, not comfortable in my own skin. A lot of insecurity, but I didn't want anybody to know either. You know what I mean? So put up a good face, thinking there was something wrong with me.
Right.
But just full of fear.
Yeah.
Full of insecurity and fear. But at the same time, I played sports. I was, had friends. Going into high school, I was in theater, so I was outgoing at the same time. It was
just uncomfortable.
This inner condition.
Sure,
yeah.
No, I get it.
Total discomfort until, like I said, 8 years old, took that first drink, and I remember to this day, it was like a little airport bottle of Beefeater gin. Tasted horrible.
Right?
Beefeater, dude.
I know,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
He got the name right on that
Yeah.
one.
Hell yeah. Tasted horrible, but something about it, I liked.
Right.
And then at 10, like I said, it was a wedding. It was my sister's wedding, older sister.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously. And
I would hope so, by the way.
yeah, and everybody was having fun. And it's like, you know what? I want to have fun too.
Sure.
And something about then in that moment too, as we hear, there was an aha moment. Like something had arrived. I had arrived. There was something that ironed out those little kinks. And I had fun.
Right.
It was fun.
Well, you felt comfortable.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe a little too comfortable for 10 years old, but
yeah, and it wasn't like something that I immediately went after.
Sure.
Kind of hard to score booze on a regular basis at
at
that
10,
age.
yeah,
Sure.
unless it's a liquor cabinet and
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it was in junior high on the weekends. And then by the time I got to high school, I played sports, was in theater. I quit football. I got tired of football after my sophomore year, played soccer. Knew I had to get good grades. That was the thing, too. I always was eager to please, just half-assing it, though.
right.
Absolutely.
And, but on the weekends, it was kind of a free-for-all. What do you do in Odessa, Texas when you're in high school on a weekend? Well, you go have a bonfire somewhere, and both schools would get together, people from both high schools, and just get wasted.
Maybe,
Friday night fights.
yeah, or
Hell
maybe
yeah.
maybe blow some things up or something. Maybe fireworks, or I don't know what you would do.
Well, it would
Yeah.
all tie in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure, of
Yeah,
course,
dude.
Right.
But yeah, ended up at North Texas in '94, and that's when things changed as far as substances. I mean, I was one. My drinking just really took off because I didn't have to answer to anybody.
Yeah.
Sure,
And
and you could kind of successfully navigate that.
sure,
Yeah,
somewhat.
right.
But I remember even back then, sometimes in between classes, Fry Street, you got the bars right across the street.
Oh, dude.
Fake ID, and
Yeah, that was back in
Back
the day.
then, they could be real fake.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
No, I always talk about the Vicon Village special, dude. Like, I'm from Louisiana. It's the whole McLovin.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
like-
absolutely. And mine, I just was able to alter mine. It was those old IDs,
Oh, right.
like that old little blue and white with
Uh-huh.
the picture right
Sure.
there. And I was able to just change a date. Somehow it worked.
Right.
And then I hung out with older people. And then when you start going to the same places, they recognize you and not know you're old
Right.
enough. Then, Anyway, so yeah, I was sneaking off in between classes. And that just, ended up not going to school after a while.
Sure.
And started dating a girl that was real big into the club scene. I had mentioned to you before, and
Yeah.
found ecstasy. And I remember that first one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to.
Hey, you know what? And the funny thing is it's never as good as that first time.
Right.
No.
Not that I'm here to glorify any of it. I just that was something like, it was like next level.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
Let's start seeking this now. And it just escalated from there, from that to next thing you know, I'm experimenting with everything and end up with a pretty good meth habit. You know.
So how does it graduate from? I mean, I guess it's just kind of what's available, and then somebody rolled the dessert cart, aka the meth cart, by, and then you're just like, I'll give it a try.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly how
Yeah.
it goes, and I guess I wasn't as much as I was told as a kid. You know, don't do this and do that. Be careful with this and be careful with that. I wanted to try it.
Sure.
I mean, growing up, I aspired to be a mercenary or a ninja. You know,
and the rules do not apply to me because I will be able to do this and navigate successfully.
Yeah, no,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I it's funny, scared little kid, but wanted to be an outlaw, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
So yeah, no, that's how it just started. Going to the clubs, you know, getting connected with the people that were doing what they were doing,
Sure.
and
The enterprising business folk of the club world of the underground dance scene.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Well, and then I even became a part of that enterprising folk. You
Yeah.
know,
Nice.
and,
There you
and
go.
connected with them, and yeah, you know, it just once I got into where I wasn't doing anything but meth, and that was like one of those things where I needed it.
Were you drinking and doing meth, or just
Oh,
you just
no.
put everything aside and just focused on meth?
I just focused on meth.
Okay.
Maybe a little blow here and there.
Right. Well,
And
they're in
then
the
you're
same.
like, damn,
they're in the
That
same
doesn't last
family.
anywhere near as
Right.
long as meth.
That's a lot more expensive.
Yeah, no. So, but I ended up hitting the bottom with that, thankfully.
Yeah.
Thankfully, around,
Well-
you know, I was at 21.
Right. So okay. So 94 is when you did when you went to Denton. But then how long did it take you to hit meth, and then as far as meth, and then like it to become a problem?
It really,
What was the window?
it was like a 2-year span.
Okay. So probably like 96.
96 is whenever I quit.
Uh-huh.
All the hard stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and couldn't keep a job. You know, all my buddies that were dealing with me didn't even want me around because I wasn't making any money anymore. And so I ended up moving back to Odessa. That was
Okay.
like the first time of many.
Yep.
Moving back to Odessa to be with family.
Sure.
But I quit cold turkey.
Mhm.
Something clicked and said, "Oh, you can't do this anymore."
Right.
Moved back to Odessa, and next thing I'm like patting myself on the back. It's like, all right, let's go have a beer,
Yeah.
and not realizing I was just trading one back for the other.
Sure.
I worked in the restaurant industry for so long too, since I was like 16.
Uh-huh.
Went back to working in restaurants. Well, that's what I did in college too, or throughout that time.
Mm-hmm.
Started bartending, and so again, just picked up one for the other.
Right.
Worked, ended up kind of bouncing around from Odessa, working for this one company in Austin. Got my first arrest there in Austin.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You know?
What was it for?
Originally, they charged me with burglary of a vehicle because I kicked in a car window down on 6th Street.
Okay.
Mhm.
When they found out that I wasn't actually stealing anything, it got dropped to
What were
criminal
you
trespass.
breaking in for?
I
A
just
place to sleep?
being
Uh-huh.
being rowdy and kicking in a window.
Okay.
Being an
Checks
asshole.
out.
Disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
That checks out. dude.
Yeah.
Totally,
Right.
total menace.
Wanted to do that. Never had the balls to.
Right.
So thank you for doing that so I don't have to.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You really did. That was a move of being of service, if you really think about it.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
But that was my first time being arrested.
Mhm.
It was kind of simple then. You get a little PR bond, $20 PR bond, and long story short, I ended up getting charged with like criminal trespass, put on probation.
Mhm.
It took a few years back then. I think everything moves pretty a lot faster now, but at that point, I ended up in Lubbock, Texas. After a while,
Okay.
moved there for that same company that I worked for, but left and started working as a chef. That's whenever I found my way into the culinary world.
Which does not have a dark side at all.
No, no, it doesn't.
Right.
Thankfully, where I worked, it
Uh-huh.
wasn't like that though. Like
Sure.
the
Well, so you're chefing in Lubbock?
chefing in Lubbock of all places.
What do they got, a sizzler in Lubbock, or what do you got? Where are you working as
honestly,
a chef?
honestly, it's a step up from that. It's
Okay.
a big step up actually. It's a place called Stella's.
Okay.
The owners are from New York. The oldest brother was a cardiologist in Lubbock, so he brought his brothers.
Oh,
there.
okay.
The head chef I worked for, at that time, he was in his 40s. He's in his 60s now. Total like Johnson and Wales culinary school graduate. real deal chef, and
Oh, cool.
took me
Right.
under his wing. You know, I'd been in the front of the house business for 10 years. So here I'm in the back of the house, not really knowing what the hell I'm doing, but he took me under his wing and I fell in love with this business all over again.
Sure.
I mean, I ended up doing it for another 17 years.
Wow.
In a lot of different places.
Right. What I mean, is there like a type of chef you were, or?
I became his sous chef the
Mhm.
second year that I worked
Right.
for him. Sous chef is like second in charge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, worked for him for a couple of years and then went to school in Scottsdale, culinary school.
Ah, okay.
Ended up in Scottsdale, and kind of the same story was in
There's
school,
no shadiness going on in Scottsdale, huh?
right?
Out in Arizona, not at all.
That's a good geographical cure.
Yeah, right.
I've come to find out wherever I went, there I was.
Yeah. That's a big thing to point out. Is a lot of people try to, maybe if I just locate somewhere else, my problem will stay in Dallas.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny about things like that, like cliche things? There's a fucking reason they're cliche, and it's because they're true. So you
Right.
can try and fight it and not want to be part of it like I did. You know what I mean? Or you can once you go through all of it and you're like, holy shit, they were right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
Right.
It's like, damn, I could have listened.
Yeah.
right. Well, even like I remember hearing one day at a time, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Really? Well, what about tomorrow? And,
Right. What about next week?
Sure.
Right.
But that's one of those that is absolutely true. All I have is right here with you guys,
Sure.
Absolutely.
and that's it.
All right.
Yeah. No, I ended up in Lubbock. This guy was a great mentor and really took me under his wing. Worked for him for a couple of years, but my drinking still continued. I think I ended up getting another arrest there.
DUI related.
My first DWI.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So just got off probation and switched to another probation is really what it came down
Mhm.
to. And after a couple of years, decided to go to Scottsdale, work there, worked for another great chef who is to this day still a good friend. She comes from James Beard area
Mhm.
stuff, nominations, worked out in LA for some great people. Long story short, just to keep that part, succinct, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I ended up in LA. I ended up in Colorado. I worked for some great
Wow.
places, but every time I started doing well, I burned it down.
All right.
And I would end up back in Odessa, Texas.
All right. So why do you think that was? Did you have a lot of trauma or what? I mean, was there any kind of reason that you look back and now go, oh, maybe that was a part of it? Or
Not really any trauma that I can, not any serious trauma, thankfully.
Right.
A lot of it was just...
I like to say, like, with the whole DJ thing, it was an occupational hazard.
Sure.
It was just there, and it was almost expected of you to partake, as a DJ.
Right.
And I can imagine it would be the same as a chef.
Well, and I was even probably more of the instigator.
Oh, okay.
Here, drink this.
Yeah, right.
Here we
Right.
go. But it was because it was my solution.
Mm-hmm.
It had been my solution for so long that it was the one thing that I knew how to calm myself down, how to keep myself,
How to be comfortable in your own skin.
somewhat, yeah,
Right.
to an extent.
Sure.
It masks like the true feeling, so you think that you're comfortable, and it's like mind tricks, dude. So
Well,
you that it's drugs and alcohol aren't the problem. Like, we're the problem.
Oh, absolutely.
They're the solution.
Sure.
The short-term Band-Aid it's like buying a Kroger Band-Aid instead of getting it stitched up by the doctor.
Right.
You know what I mean? That motherfucker's coming off.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I wanted it to come off.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Sure.
But at that time, that was my solution. That was the only way I knew how to really find some comfort, as
Right.
you
Yeah.
mentioned. But when I moved to LA, I actually tried staying sober. I'd gone to some meetings before I left Odessa, went to LA, got a job, was actually doing well, working at a place, getting my name out there, of all
Mhm.
places in Los Angeles. Here I am
Yeah.
in Studio City, getting
Badass.
people are starting to recognize the food that I was making. And the crazy thing about it was I was like, things are going so good. I bet I can have a drink.
Uh-huh.
And,
Yeah, of course.
and I still was uncomfortable though, but at least I knew there was this trajectory that was going on.
Mhm.
But yeah, I went and had a drink, stayed at a bar that night, came home the next morning. The girlfriend's like, you were drinking, you need to get out of here.
Right.
And kicked me out.
Right.
And then it was back and forth,
Mhm.
no, don't leave, come back.
Right.
You need to leave. you know.
Right.
Because my drinking it was one of those, okay, had that first drink, you know, if we know about the cycle of addiction.
Sure.
Absolutely,
Right.
dude.
Yes.
That first drink, you know, then
And
it
then
just
we were
kinda-
off on a spree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
It wasn't until we had a complete psychic change. Yeah, dude. And it's unfortunately, like, the problem that I have with it is it's so fucking right.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's spot on.
I was
Yeah.
like, I don't have an allergy. And they were like, well, do you have an abnormal reaction that normal people don't have? I was like, yeah, but it's not an allergy. Well, look up the fucking definition of allergy and quit playing semantics.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
it's a cliche thing I didn't want to believe in. I thought, and I'm sure you felt the same way, dude. Like I got it. I got this under control. I'll figure it out.
Every time.
Every time. Oh, I'll just-
what is it like? You're up to like 10 times now in LA. Is this like the 10th time you're gonna
Oh,
give
yeah.
alcohol a chance?
This time it'll be different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I tried everything. You know what? I'll just drink 3 shots a night. I'll just drink half a pint of vodka.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that self-regulating always works.
The old Handmaid's
great.
Tale.
And normal people don't drink half a pint of vodka. do
Right,
they? You know?
right. But as long as I can do that, then I'm okay.
Sure.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
it just became 2 pints, or you know,
Right.
and handle and
Mhm.
so forth.
Sure.
But to fast forward, left LA, came back to Texas, ended up in Austin. Same story. Bounced around, you know, got jobs, quit. Got a job, quit because of my drinking,
Mhm.
and ended up with acute pancreatitis in 2011. back in
The old
Odessa.
pancreatitis.
Yeah, I was in the hospital.
That's a
for-
wake-up call.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I was in the hospital for about 2.5 weeks,
Mhm.
and I'm diabetic as a result.
Bingo. That was me, dude.
Really?
Yeah. I was full-on diabetic before I went to rehab.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing the metformin and the shots.
Sure.
And it was so amazing, just that 30 days that I was in there, I got to wean off of insulin.
Nice.
That's how hard I was going.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, we do that because that's what we do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's that nothing's going to happen to me. I'm invincible type thing. And,
Right.
And here I am damaging this,
Yeah,
bo-
no,
this,
I'm-
this body that's
I'm-
aging.
I'm killing myself, basically. I'm slowly poisoning myself, you know, faster than normal.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think it's safe to say that we all at one point had invisible invincibility cloaks on, right? And because we went hard, like all 3 of us, we had invisible invincibility cloaks on, and at some point they slipped off,
Sure.
right? And try and prove that wrong. There's no way you can.
I almost like to use the word delusion.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Almost.
Yeah, because I didn't even. Well, no, I will use the word
It is-
delusion.
it is
Yeah.
100%
Because
delusion.
at the same time too, I didn't even think about being invincible. I just didn't even think about it.
No,
Right.
not
I
at
just,
all.
I just did what I did when I wanted to do it, and that was sadly, you know, stepped on a lot of people,
Yeah.
especially close people,
Of
Mhm.
course.
along the way. Thankfully, my folks stayed. You know, my mom especially. She's always been by my side.
Right.
My oldest daughter.
Oh, and you're having kids this whole time, right? Or did you have your kids yet and married?
At 23, I had my oldest.
Okay.
Moved to Lubbock.
Mm.
Didn't work out. So her mom ended up leaving her with my parents,
Mm.
which was in Odessa, which is like hour and a half, 2 hours away from Lubbock. So I still got
Right.
to see her every other week, spend time with her. Not the way I could have,
Sure.
and I see that now.
Mhm.
But also, I didn't know how to do better at the time either. I'm not
Right.
making any excuses.
Sure.
Yeah.
We have a good relationship today. She's 24. She's a great kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was 14 when I sobered up, and there was work to be done, and there still is.
Yeah, of course.
Always. But yeah, where was I? And so,
You were L.A. and Yeah.
acute pancreatitis.
Yes, yeah.
Got out, stayed well for about 6 months.
mm-hmm.
Taking care of myself.
vis-a-vis
eating
the
right.
doctor's recommendation, or
Yeah, exercising. I mean, when I got out of the hospital, I was using a walker. 'Cause
Oh,
I-
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so-
couldn't even walk. And then
Mm.
I got to where next thing I know, I'm eating right, I'm jogging, I'm taking care of myself.
did
and,
your diabetes go away?
not right away.
Okay.
I was still on like 4 shots of
Okay.
insulin, but there was a point too that I remember I had a small bottle of whiskey in my closet. And
I thought you were going to say Beefeater gin, dude.
No. This is I downgraded, I guess, probably actually to
Yeah.
like Kentucky Deluxe or something.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
nice. There you go,
Um,
dude. A little Canadian mist.
Little Kevin Durant. dude.
yeah. It I had that bottle in that closet to prove that I didn't have to drink it. And there, next
Right.
thing I know, I'm like, one's not gonna hurt.
All right.
I've been doing good, right? and that's whenever I got my third DWI. So I had a second DWI along the way.
Wow.
7 years after the first one, then 5 years later I got my third.
So but they were different states, right?
No, they were all in Texas.
Oh, okay. So yeah. But how did you avoid the 3 strikes and no jail?
So the first 2 were 7 years apart. They told me that we're going to give you the punishment as if it's your second. The punishment's as if it's your first. But if you get another one, it's going to be a felony. And 5 years later, here I got that third DWI after the whole hospitalization with pancreatitis. And I remember distinctly, I'm like, oh, you know what? I finally did it. I'm going to jail.
Right.
Yeah.
At any point, any point during this, were you seeing the handwriting on the wall? Were you seeing a pattern while you were in your active addiction? Or you just thought
most people do not.
It was going to be different every time? Every time you just were that delusional?
Yeah. I just kept thinking if I could just catch a break.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I could not imagine a life not drinking.
Sure.
And I needed if I could catch a break, everything's going to work out. If I could get a better job, make more money, have a better place to live, everything's going to.
Then I wouldn't have to go to work. Then I wouldn't have to go to work as often, and I could drink more. Right?
Sure.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No. And I showed up to court for that third DWI drinking because I figured I was going. They were taking me in.
You're going in. You might as well go in.
And
yeah.
They called my name. Even the bondsman had said they're gonna offer you probation. You should take it. She's full of crap. Sure enough. What do you suggest? We suggest probation, 1 year probation, misdemeanor 2. Mr. Watkins, how do you plead? Guilty.
Yeah.
Right.
Guilty as fuck.
Right away.
Right,
yeah.
Sure.
And so, and even that the bailiff, as I'm filling out paperwork, could smell the vodka on me.
Oh,
and
man.
he puts his head down. He says, "Hey,
dude,
don't ever come in here smelling like that."
Hey, by the way, chew some gum, dude.
Well, he handed me a piece of candy.
He handed you a Tic Tac,
Yeah,
dude.
he was like, next time I'm going to tell the judge, and that's automatic contempt of court.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Again, bigger things were looking out for me. The
Right.
universe
Yeah.
was looking
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
or it
yeah.
just wasn't the time.
Right.
Didn't stay sober immediately. Still, I knew the ins and outs of probation, would report. And long story short, I just remember next thing I know, I'm laying in bed and I'm like, I'm going to die. That's when things really started to kind of come clear and sink in. And so I called the police on myself because I was on probation.
Okay.
And they showed up. Are you going to hurt yourself? No, I just want to stop drinking and I don't know what to do. I'm on probation. Take me to jail.
Right. They said it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Yeah.
No, they're like, well, can somebody take you to the hospital?
All right.
Called my mother. I lived with my sister. My mom left work, came, picked me up, took me to the ER. And they're like, okay, we'll get you into a detox. If you really want help, we'll help you. We'll get you into a detox because I didn't have insurance. I didn't have any money.
I didn't either.
And they got me into in Midland this detox facility.
Sure.
They're like, you'll be there for like 3 or 4 or 5 days, and then we'll come get you and transfer you to this other place, Turning Point in Odessa.
Okay.
So after like 3 or 4 days, getting some food in me, not drinking, sobering up, looking at some chef books, cookbooks, I'm like, oh, I just need to stay busy doing the things that I used to do all the time.
Right.
Things that I love.
A little aversion therapy.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I got them to let me out. My family came and picked me up. It was on a Sunday. That next day, I went to the MHMR office and talked to this guy and said, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to be okay. I really appreciate everything. I wanted to come tell you thank you, in person.
Yeah,
this is how serious I am about doing this time. And I was so happy that I figured it out that I was drunk for another 4 days.
Oh, no.
And
a little celebration.
Yeah.
Little victory lap.
Sure. That was, who knows why. I just know that's whenever that was the last time. After that 4th day, that's when it really dawned on me, you know what? I'm going to die in Odessa, Texas, of all places, which I'd rather die somewhere else.
Sure.
I want to be a good dad. I want to be a good son.
Yeah.
I want to be a good.
You want to be around for
I want to be
people.
a good member of society. Yeah. And then it just hit me. It's like, I just want to be happy. That's really, I just want to be happy. And picked up the phone, called my mother. Because that guy told me, he said, if anything changes, call me. Here's my cell phone number. And we'll get you into treatment.
Right.
So.
Oh, you need the remote. Oh, yeah. We have a technical issue.
My bad.
No, it's all good, dude.
So anyway, long story short, I had his number we called him, and he got me into Turning Point like that
Mhm.
that day.
Okay.
Spent 50 days in treatment.
50, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be, they told me, I thought it was 30.
Right.
And then they said, no, since they got you in here, they're requiring 45.
Yeah,
you know.
you've already got a little bit of a track record.
Right.
Couple you're already in the DUI club, and
Sure.
yeah. No, but I'm glad like that I didn't, because if I would have done just the detox part of it, I would have done exactly what you did. Is
Sure.
tried to get out and navigate. Whereas when you're actually in there, then you give yourself a chance to think and to process and to realize that, hey, there is life without alcohol.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they got me in, and, initially when they said 45, not 30, I got pissed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then that second thought, like they tell us, I'm like, well, no, you're here to get better. That
Yeah.
was the voice in my head, was you're here to get well.
Yeah.
And so I remember I looked at the calendar. I was like, oh, so I get out on this day. And they're like, no, the first 5 days of detox didn't count, because I had to detox again.
Oh, yeah.
So I was there for 50 days. And thankfully, I just completely surrendered.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm here as long as you want me to be, as long as I
Mhm.
need to be, and I'll do whatever. That compulsion to drink had changed.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a switch that just went off, and I participated every day. I found, I tell everybody this story. I found this book, Dharma Punks. I bought it in 8 years prior. It's a story about this guy, Noah Levine. He's a Buddhist teacher.
Yeah.
Started Refuge Recovery. And I had that book 8 years. When I first saw it was about recovery, I didn't want to read it, so I put it down. But I held on to it. And there I was. I read it in treatment, and next thing I know, I'm doing this mindfulness of breathing meditation, and I'm
Mhm.
printing off copies of it to give out to other people in the
Right.
treatment facility. And once I got out, I found this Buddhist path. I mean, I was stuck with AA,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where I was connected.
Well, there's a whole other thing called recovery dharma now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And which people do, which is what you're talking about, which is mindfulness and more of a Eastern philosophy.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it stemmed from that whole refuge recovery
Mhm.
program.
Yeah. He just kind of gave it a bad name, is what I hear. He did some inappropriate, maybe not so leader-esque things.
Yeah, from his position,
Yeah.
he made some mistakes. But
Yeah.
that guy, I ended up, he was a personal mentor at one
Mhm.
point too. That
Sure.
He really helped me out.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
I remember distinctly, and I was talking about this either yesterday or no, earlier today, and I said, when I asked him to mentor me, sometimes these teachers, they ask you to pay.
Mhm.
And I said, man, I don't really have much money. I could probably donate a little bit. And
Mhm.
he's like, no, you don't have to give me anything.
Mm.
And, he helped me out. When I decided I was going to go back to school and quit being a chef, I told him
Mhm.
about it. And I said, hey, I've got this. I want to go back to school for social work, something along those lines. I said, but I also have an idea for a restaurant.
Right.
I was good at what I did as a chef.
Sure.
And I'm happy to say that. My heart just wasn't in it anymore.
Mm.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he says, you could either cook food and have a great place to serve people that way. He's like, or you can help people. And that's where my heart was already leaning. I think my
Mhm.
heart's always leaned in that direction. I just didn't, too busy caught up in the selfishness and self-centeredness.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So 2018, I like I said, I mentioned Refuge Recovery because that's what was out at that time.
Sure,
And I started-
And I mean, it was actually had some legs and traction at that time.
Until about 2018
Right.
or so. Right. And so 2014, the book came out. 2015, I'd been sober a little over almost about 2.5 years when I started that program,
Mm-hmm.
and found a mentor from the refuge in California. Started
Mhm.
doing that stuff with this was before I knew Noah.
Mhm.
So to take me through the inventories on that, I'd already gone through the 12 steps. So I was doing this as well and sponsoring people.
Mm.
As soon as I got out of treatment, after 6 months, they let you go back into that facility for big book meetings and
Yeah.
Right,
for the-
H&I.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or even just for the open meetings that are
Mm.
open to the public. But I was already like going in and listening to Fifth Steps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just trying to help however I could. And that was something that was instilled in me. Part of finding this Buddhist path too, we talk about the Bodhisattva vow, and it's to live a life for the benefit of all beings. It's like the ultimate service position.
Mm-hmm.
The Bodhisattva ideal is you come back in each lifetime, and you're not going to go into full enlightenment onto the further shore per se until all beings have been helped.
Ah,
So it's a pretty high ideal that's almost probably impossible.
right.
but I thought, you know what? I've taken so much in my life that it's my time to it's my
It's
turn
my time to man
give-
the life raft.
to give back.
Yeah.
However that looks. And I
Sure.
realized I needed to take care of me first. And so again, first few years of recovery, started that refuge recovery group in Fort Worth in 2016. Started helping people in that direction. Started taking one to the county jail.
Mm.
And then by 2018, I mean, like I said, I was so burnt out of cooking. Like I just didn't want to work in restaurants anymore or cook anymore for a
Sure.
living. And ended up worked briefly at one treatment center, didn't quite work out,
Right.
and ended up at Brazos. Brazos called me. Someone gave them my number. Kylie Word. I don't know if you guys know Kylie Word.
I don't
No.
know. I know a bunch of people that work there. I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
know her.
Brazos has a long storied history of,
Sure.
and we've had a lot of people from Brazos actually on the show.
Right.
Josh W. Jordan.
Yeah, Josh Jordan.
Shout
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Quin-
absolutely.
Shout out to W.
Quincy when he was working there.
Yeah, Quincy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Started at Brazos, and right away they're like, hey, we know you've been leading some meditation groups. Is that something you'd be like to do here? And so I started doing that voluntarily with the clients, having this aspiration of becoming like this Dharma teacher,
Yeah.
but realizing, okay, I still need to just one foot in front of the other.
Right.
But at that point, 2018, I'd been sober over 5 years when I started working there and started leading these meditation groups. And then I ended up doing a year-long trauma-informed mindfulness teacher training
Mhm.
with Fleet Mall, this teacher out of Massachusetts.
Right. Hey,
Uh,
real quick. So, what is Noah Levine up to now, in retrospect? Because I know that refuge recovery, kind of went away. I mean, is it still out there, or did it just morph into Dharma?
No, it's still out there.
Yeah.
So what happened, there was a whole exchange at first, like,
Mhm.
he wasn't a part of it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But once he was cleared of all,
Right.
the main stuff,
Sure.
it was his, and he claimed it back. And then,
Mhm.
they went to court, and then they settled out of court, and, he retained it. And so
Okay.
refuge recovery is still going.
All right.
It's happening in parts of Texas, just
Right.
not here in DFW. My whole thing at that time, I just stayed in the middle with the whole thing.
Yeah.
I had friends that went with Recovery Dharma. I had
Right.
friends that stayed with Refuge Recovery.
Mhm.
And as I went to go do that training, which was happening all at that same time,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know what? I don't want to get in the middle of anything.
Yeah, sure. You're not here for controversy.
Right.
Right.
So, thankfully I found some other teachers that have projected me further on this path.
Right.
From that training, I ended up finding another, I entered a ministry training, an Acharya Buddhist ministry training.
Okay.
So I'm now ordained as a lay Buddhist minister.
Nice.
As-
Wow.
I like
as of
it.
June.
That's awesome.
Have aspirations for a ministry, but point is, worked for Brazos, leading meditation groups, mindfulness groups, started teaching yoga there,
Mm-hmm.
and doing the kayaking once a week with clients.
Right.
Doing the mindfulness
Which is
based.
badass. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great. We had a
until somebody got paralyzed.
no,
Yeah.
nothing
No,
bad ever
I know,
happened.
I know.
We had a level 4 kayak instructor there with us. She
Uh-huh.
trained me to be the assistant, and I would lead a meditation group out on the water
Right.
as well.
I gotcha.
And then once a week, taking these guys on this like forest bathing mindfulness based hike.
Sure.
Um,
Well, I want to get to like what you're doing currently now,
Yeah.
which is recovery resource counseling. But real quick, let me hit our sponsors.
Sure.
That would be Max the Axe. Hit up old Max the Axe at thispinklawyer.com and namaste. But yes, hit up Max the Axe. He is actually a personal injury lawyer. It is called Lone Star Injury Attorneys. But if you go to thispinklawyer.com, it will route you there. Max the Axe is a good dude, and will really actually work to get you the best results. And he's a good dude on top of it, and supports the show.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Absolutely.
Shout out Max.
Shout
and
out
then
Max.
also we have neuroglow.com. They are actually in Flower Mound and McKinney.
Yes.
I had to think about it. Yeah, Flower Mound and McKinney, but that is Neuroglow, NEUROGLOW.com. They actually are a ketamine infusion. Shout out ketamine. But yeah, they are actually a ketamine infusion therapy center, and they found that it works for PTSD, suicidal ideology, depression, all kinds of stuff, and actually they've seen that it has results with people that are maybe treatment resistant to normal therapy. So give them a shout out at neuroglow.com. And so now back to we were talking about this, and I guess maybe through Messenger,
Sure.
about Recovery Resource Council, and I always love this because it's a nonprofit, but it's out there. It's like you're in the trenches. You're like frontline. I mean, you're not paramedic frontline, but you're the follow up to the paramedic. So why don't you explain how you found them, and then what exactly it is that y'all offer?
Sure. No, absolutely. I found them because I ended up doing the recovery support peer specialist training.
Okay.
Ironically, Brazos had to sign up for it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it,
Right.
but I was like, that was the first thought. Second thought, I was like, all right, I better do it. Well, then I quit Brazos, and it's like, now what do? I took a job at a juvenile justice department outside of Waco, and found out quickly that wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right.
And was able to get that training done. With that training, I found, looking online for jobs.
Yeah.
Recovery Resource Council, overdose response team. I thought, you know what? That sounds exactly like what I want to do. Because really, again, this heart of service, this heart of this ministry, and wanting to go out to reach people. Working
Sure.
in treatment, they come to you. Here, let's go knock on your door.
Right.
And so long story short, by December of last year, I've been there a year now. That's when the whole team started it. And Recovery Resource Council covers the entire DFW area.
Okay. And y'all work hand in hand with Metro Care, or is it?
No, with MedStar.
MedStar.
So
okay.
right now we're contracted with MedStar in Tarrant County, and they cover a majority of Tarrant County.
Okay.
As of yesterday, I believe we've finalized, or the Dallas City approved for us to start doing this here in Dallas.
Okay. Great.
With fire and rescue.
Okay.
It took a little longer to get it all finalized, but we're looking at also trying to do Denton County and Collin County. Denton County's closer, and then Collin County, hopefully at some point.
Yeah.
Well, what exactly is it y'all do? So, I mean, obviously y'all aren't going when somebody's, overdosing that moment. That's the medical personnel goes out, but then you go 24 hours after to?
Sure.
Okay.
So I'll use the
How's that
example
work?
like in Tarrant County with MedStar. So because of privacy, we have to be contracted with them. They're the ones that, pick up all these clients, or they're the ones that can get into databases to see who has had an overdose or who has had a 911 substance use call. Originally, we were put together just for the opiate crisis, to respond to opiate overdoses with fentanyl, which everybody pretty much knows about now.
Sure.
But we've encountered everything from, whether it's alcohol or sometimes they're suicide attempts. And we still respond to these people. But through MedStar, we have a paramedic that we work with. She makes a list. We go out 4 days a week. I do 2 days. Another guy does 2 days. And we're out there knocking on these doors. And she says, "Hey, we're here to check on you to see,
Right. You're the follow up to the overdose.
Right.
Right.
And then she'll say, "Hey, this is Michael from Recovery Resource Council. He's here. He works for a nonprofit that they help people get into treatment if they want, whether it's just giving you Narcan, everything. We can help you get into MAT treatment as well. We get people connected with MAT services.
Which is medically aided treatment,
Sure,
which is
absolutely.
Suboxone.
Suboxone or methadone clinics.
Sure.
But also our agency's certified as a behavioral health outpatient facility.
Oh, wow.
And we're contracted also, our OSAR department is contracted with MHMR to do screenings to help people get into outpatient or inpatient treatment.
Cool.
So like if somebody wants to go into Pine Street in Fort Worth and they call to do a screening, they're calling our agency. There's different departments, different programs, different departments.
Sure.
I work in the prevention department. But I'm kind of like the middle person, being that peer specialist. They can sign up for peer services if they want. And then we just go from there.
Right.
So my whole recovery is abstinence based, and I share what's worked for me.
Right.
Yeah.
But as we know now, it's like, let's see how can we help you with
meeting them where they're at.
Exactly.
Exactly. Because some people, aren't ready to just have that lifestyle of abstinence. And Matt is a way better solution, even though it can be a little shady. But Matt is way better than hitting that needle from the street,
Sure.
right, Chad?
Yeah.
Well, and thankfully there's some great options too. Like JPS Hospital has the Bridge Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
They get people there connected, and it's free. And then they can get them. I mean, they get them on a program. They're grant funded for that.
Mm.
And so we get people connected there. There's another counseling agency, Intac, in Dallas and Arlington. I mean, Fort Worth and Arlington.
Well, real quick, let's give you y'all a plug real quick. So if they just go to recoverycouncil.org,
Yes.
that will kind of highlight, what y'all do. Like there's an about section. And then if people want to get involved, there's probably a way on that website as well, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a number to reach out and everything.
And then, so I was going to say, like a lot of these times when you're going out there, then, if these people aren't receptive, then, are you like, and they just say, hey man, I want the Narcan, I mean, do you get that a lot or?
Yeah. I mean, I get it all. Some people might not sign up for services. They're like, no, I'm fine. But yeah,
but I'll take the Narcan.
I'll take some Narcan, and we
Sure.
come back too. We don't do it when we're with MedStar,
Right.
If they want fentanyl test strips,
Right now, okay. So fentanyl test strips, real quick, they're considered paraphernalia as of right now, correct?
as of right now.
Right.
Thankfully, Abbott a few weeks ago said that he actually now supports decriminalizing them
Okay.
to make sure.
Well,
that
that's probably a good thing.
sure. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, because that's exactly what they're for. So
I think they should actually start putting regulations on pill presses.
sure.
That's what I think, but I don't know. That's my thought.
I agree. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff they really
Yeah.
could really look at.
I'll call my people, get Governor Abbott on here, and then we'll question him. We'll grill him.
I got some questions for that motherfucker, dude.
But anyway, so you're doing this. What has been like? Let's hear like maybe a success story without naming names. Maybe let's hear a success story like the one that just pops into your head that you've actually been to be a part of since you've been with Recovery Resource Council.
Well, I mean, one that comes to mind right off the top of my mind is one of our other guys met this client out in February, and he didn't want services then, right? But he got the card, got our flyer,
right?
And then he ends up calling us like in November.
Mm-hmm.
And I got him connected with that NTAC, the counseling office that does methadone as well. They do Suboxone and methadone. So
sure.
Got him connected with them. And, I mean, we offer Lyft rides to people, too. We can't personally drive them, but, like, the thing is, I can get him a Lyft ride there and back.
Right.
Every day. And that's what we're doing for now. Thankfully, too, NTAC, once that referral, he's getting his medicine for free.
Right.
Because they're funding it as well. Another one just yesterday too, young kid. And I was like, I want help and I feel like crap. He's been using heroin. Got him over to the Bridge Clinic, got him set up, signed up for peer services. We're going to try to meet once a week. And, I meet these guys. If they want to go to a meeting, I'll meet them at a meeting.
Yeah.
If that's not what they want, I'll still, we'll navigate how we can start looking towards recovery. The first thing is like, let's get you feeling better.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I used to be against the whole Matt service
Sure.
thing. But I mean, now if it's really going to help, and like I said, it's helping people.
Right. Well, I just think that anything is better than street drugs.
Sure.
I mean, as far as trying to get a foundation to navigate your own sobriety. I just think that's where my head has always been with that.
It's like it's very proactive though, because you get people that they just have no intention of doing anything different, and they just want
Right.
help for that day, and then they go right back out. But it puts a buffer on things when they have a different option. So it's like it can be destructive or it can be very constructive, but it's in the end it's always more positive than it is negative, because you're gonna have bad apples do dumb shit no matter what.
Sure. I mean, and we're just really trying to plant a seed.
Yeah.
Right.
And just put the effort
And
forward.
give the options.
People, it
Sure.
eases
The
people
option.
into it, which is like the most beautiful thing in the world, because it's all or nothing like to a lot of people, like you and me, like it's all or nothing. Like I can't do nothing or I can do everything. And some people, like, they haven't had that I'll say it just because that step one experience, dude. They haven't had it yet.
Sure.
And like, God forbid they even have to have it because of medication assisted therapy or assisted treatment. And it's a so much easier way to transition into the treatment idea and really understanding what's going on, because it's only a few things that can be going on that make you want to do that, and you just it's tough, especially because you run into a lot of people that are very smart and they have these
too smart for their own good. Yeah.
And medication assisted therapy helps like just get the brain in a clearer way, not completely clear because it's still,
it gives you a chance,
but it gives you a chance to look at something from a different perspective. That's why it's so beautiful,
right?
Sure.
Well, dude, and that's what I'm digging about you, is because like you, like the show, I always try to make it about multiple pathways, and it sounds like you have done the multiple pathways thing with the 12 steps and with the refugee recovery and the Eastern philosophy, and then now you're a fan of Matt and all this stuff. So, you.
Yeah,
I applaud somebody that can be open-minded and that is also just meeting the people where they need to be met.
Absolutely,
sure, 100%, and that's the whole thing.
Right,
we're just trying to help save lives.
Right. And that is recoverycouncil.org.
Yeah, I'm putting your name tag up real quick, so that way they get it again.
Sure.
There we go.
Recoverycouncil.org.
Cool.
Yeah, and then another guy helped him, and it's not just that. Sometimes we helped him see what the other things, whether it's homelessness or there's going to be other issues that need to be addressed, or need to be
like they don't have a driver's license for one,
don't have a
or
driver's
anything.
license, or one guy asked about a success story, didn't have a car. I was able to find, there's this agency or place in Fort Worth too. It's Guido's Bicycles, or bike gangs, and they rebuild bicycles and give them out for free.
Oh wow!
So I reached out to them, say, hey, I got this guy, and they're like, they asked, well, how tall is he? How much does he weigh?
Right.
They wanted the details. They were like, we want to make sure he has a bike that's going to last him.
Sure.
And
that's so awesome.
Yeah,
that is
able
cool.
to get him a bike so he could get to work or wherever he needed to go.
That's part of being the RSPS, which
Sure.
is your resource broker, and I think that's great that you're actually utilizing it and being on the front line. So I thank you for doing that.
Absolutely, man.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic.
And then this is the time when we always give the guest, if they want to do a shout out to anybody, or maybe somebody that was special in their recovery, or whatever, or family members, or your daughter who had a birthday.
It was my son that had a birthday.
Oh, son,
so
sorry.
No, it's all good. Shout out to Jonah, Gabby, and Zoe, my 3 kids.
They get the horn.
And
the gun.
And I'll just share. I'll end with this and share this. My first sponsor, and this is something that stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about it today. I'm a part of the Zen Peacemakers Order. It's this whole social activist engaged organization, nonprofit. And he was big in AA. He was my sponsor, but he had very open-minded as well. And he says, we're all on this path for the truth of self-awareness, but also to remember it, to follow it with the truth of self-forgetfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To seek this self-awareness, the truth of self-awareness, and to follow it with the truth of self-forgetfulness.
Sure.
It's not all about me.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's been a big part of, that's, again, no
right.
self.
Right. Right.
So,
absolutely.
I love it. Well, once again, thanks for, doing what you do. And,
for sure.
That is recoverycouncil.org. Chad, you got anything else for him?
No, man, this has been fantastic. It's been awesome to meet you, and I got your card and everything. So people that are reaching out to me that have been in treatment with me or whatever, or know me from whatever. Like, I guess I just put off that vibe that I was really about it, because people are reaching out to me right and left.
Sure.
So any way that I can broker whatever has been put in front of me, you know what I mean? That's what I'm going to do. And I have conversations with people every day about their friends relapsing or this and that. Just people's worlds are crumbling, and it's like moments like this that like instill me with confidence to be able to tell those people like it's not the end of the world.
Sure.
Like there is solutions, and there's a million of them, you know?
Right.
And
We just got to find one that fits for you.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what you do. So knowing people like you guys and like Mantra Recovery, like all these different organizations, dude, that like there is no motive behind any of this shit. The motive may be to have like a beautiful world one day, you know?
Sure.
But that's like very unselfish. Or maybe it is selfish. Who gives a fuck? Having a beautiful world one day would be awesome, you know? And just what brings you to peace and what helped you with your peace, you share with other people, because it might work for them, it might not, but hey, it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
You know, because
At least
it
you're
feels
trying.
good inside, and I want somebody else to be able to experience that, you know, and that's the Eastern philosophy, the whole Buddhism, the mindfulness. It's amazing.
We need to get you to a little recovery Dharma meeting. I know they do
I would
one in Plano.
love to see
Yeah,
it.
they're cool.
Yeah,
they're cool. I
sure.
love them.
With Dusty.
Yeah, Dusty Burrows, shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, dude, thanks for coming out, and appreciate what you're doing. And that is recoverycouncil.org. And then coming up next week, who do we have? Oh, yeah, we have Phoenix House, which is another great organization. We have Drew from Phoenix House coming on. So be sure and tune in for that. Also, if you can, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we're also on all other major streaming platforms. But other than that, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.